Hello and welcome to Penguin TV. It is recorded by George Efelis, aka Whiffy Penguin, and you can follow me on Twitter at Whiffy Penguin. Penguin TV is hosted by PureMTGO.com and sponsored by MTGOTraders.com. Get an 8% discount off all orders over $50 when paying with PayPal or credit card. And you can check out CapeFearGames.com and get an extra 20% off when trading paper for digital. Enjoy the videos. Hello and welcome to a standard deck tech for today. Yes, that's right, standard. This does not mean I've run out of classic decks. There are still, I was talking with one of my buddies, and I think that there are still at least a dozen decks that I could do. But we missed out on the classic event this Saturday, and I did not want to play pickup games. I'm starting to get to the point where I want to save some of these decks for actual events because they're starting to become some of the Tier 1 decks that I know I can prize with, as opposed to some of the decks that are like Tier 2 or Tier 1.5. But I've got this standard deck that I pretty much copied from a 4-0 daily event at the insistence of one of my other friends who knows that I play block. And I've been playing Tempered Steel and Block to some pretty decent success. I'm moneying like every other event almost. About 50-50 for moneying. But I've never played this deck in Standard. I played it in Block probably about 20 matches, maybe 30. But the standard version is a little bit different. So we're going to start off with the mana. We've got 19 lands and 3 Mox Opals. These Mox Opals should be over here. We've got a bunch of plains. And then we've got 8 blue-white duels and 3 Mox Opals. And now the blue for the deck comes in for Preordain and Spellskite. And then there's also a couple of sideboard cards. And then we've got Inkmoth Nexus, which is just the bee's knees of Tempered Steel. And then if we go down the converted mana cost, at 0 we've got Memnite. Memnite is, I think it's the worst card in the deck, but it's kind of needed for the explosive I'm going to put you out of the game on turn 1. Like a turn 1 of land, Signal Pest, double Memnite is pretty brutal. And that can put them on the back foot so hard from turn 1 that they can't really get back in the game. And then as for 1-drops, we've got Vault Scourge, Signal Pest, and Origin Spellbomb. Vault Scourge, you know, he is technically a 2-drop, but the Phyrexian mana lets us drop him down on turn 1. And, you know, if we're lucky, we can play him off Mox Opal for 0 lives. Tap a Plains and a Mox Opal and throw out a Vault Scourge. Signal Pest is what this deck needed to put it over the top, I believe. And then also, like, Signal Pest with Tempered Steel, you've got a 2-3 unblockable guy for the most part. They can block with Squadron Hawks. But I think that's just about the only flying creature that can get on the table in a fast enough manner. Obviously, something like Consecrated Sphinx or a Myria Angel can block this guy, and also Inkmoth Nexus. But they are not, as far as I know, they are not as common as something like Squadron Hawk, which has lost a lot of its value with Stoneforge Mystic getting the Banhammer. Origin Spellbomb is just a little bit of card draw. It's also a little bit of insurance against sweepers. One of the ways to beat this deck is to just sweep the board every turn, or every other turn. And having the Spellbomb there, especially if you've got a Tempered Steel down, this can be a pretty good little clock here as a 3-3, or God forbid a 5-5. We've got a full set of Glinthawk Idol, which is probably my favorite card in the deck. It's immune to sorcery speed removal. It can't get wiped with a board sweeper, since there are no instant board sweepers. And with Tempered Steel or Spellskite down, it's almost impossible to Lightning Bolts or burn it out at instant speed. We've got Spellskite. This guy has been doing some work. I remember buying him at $5, and now he's 10 and rising. Seems pretty good. This is another reason for the blue splash. It lets us change the targets of spells or abilities without taking any damage. And also, you know, with the Tempered Steel, he turns into a 2/6, which means he can block just about everything except for a Titan. And then we've got 4 Steel Overseers, which are our Lords. And being able to pump up your whole team, including Inkmoth Nexus and Glinthawk Idol, can get to some pretty silly draws. Like, let's say an average turn 1 would be a Signal Pest or a Vault Scourge and a Memnite. Then turn 2 you play Steel Overseer. Attack for 2. On your turn 3 you play a Tempered Steel, pump with your Overseer, attack for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's 10 on your turn 3 that you've dealt. And you gain a bunch of life back with Vault Scourge. Following turn, your Steel Overseer is now a 4/4. These guys are all 4/4s. You can attack for 12. Which brings us into Tempered Steel. This is the top of the curve at 3 mana. Tempered Steel just makes this deck into a beating. You can win games without Tempered Steel, but it's so much easier to win with it. And just giving your entire team +2/+2 is pretty savage. We've got a quad playset of Dispatch because we do have, 3, 7, 11, 14, 18, 22, 26. We have 30 artifacts in the deck. So Dispatch turns on a lot. And then we've got 3 Preordain. I kind of feel like the Preordains are greedy to just throw in there. Obviously it's got some applications in helping you find a Tempered Steel, helping you throw away extra Mox Opals, looking for a Dispatch if you really need it. But I'm not entirely sure about this Preordain. And like I said, I just copied a 4-0 deck list to build this. Our sideboard has 4 Revoke Existence. I'm assuming this is for the Mirror Match. We've got 3 Mana Leaks, which I brought in for Valakut. I'm not sure exactly what these are for. A Dismember, which Hero of Bladehold is a problem. I guess Baneslayer Angel, if anybody played it, would be a problem. There's also the Splinter Twin. Mana Leak probably comes in for Splinter Twin as well. We've got 3 Shrine of Loyal Legions against, I want to assume, white-blue control or black-blue control with sweepers. This, I mean, my goodness. Turn 2 Shrine, turn 3 Tempered Steel. All of a sudden, you've just got an army of lightning bolts that can come out at any time. And it avoids sorcery speed removal. We've got 2 Teetering Peaks. I'm not exactly sure what this would be for. I guess if you need to race a combo deck like Valakut or Splinter Twin, you might bring these in. And then we've got 2 Refraction Traps against Mono Red. And I know that once we get Magic 2012 online, we will have to change up the sideboard a little bit because Mono Red just gets so much stronger with the addition of Shock and Incinerate and Grim Lavamancer to the card pool, while not losing a single thing from the already pretty decent Red Deck Wins deck. So that's the list. If anybody out there plays Standard, please, for the love of Pete, post in here and, you know, let people know about sideboard plans with this deck. I do not know. I am learning as I go with this. If it were block, I would be able to be a little bit better versed in it since I've played, you know, probably about 10 DEs with the block Tempered Steel deck, and also about another 5 with the Pure Steel Paladin deck. So I know block okay. Not as good as I know Classic. But yeah, Standard is a strange new world for me. Virgin territory, as it were. And yeah, that's the deck list. I've got 3 rounds coming up, and unfortunately, my 4th round was a no-show, so I have a little something extra for you guys. Instead of a round 4, I recently learned how to alter cards, and I used the round 4 time slot to show you guys how to alter cards. And that'll be the deck tech. I'm not going to do the goldfish hands with this deck because, unlike in Classic or even in Block, I'm not exactly sure what hands you want to find. So I feel like I might be giving misinformation if I do goldfishes. I will say that this deck, when I built this deck, it was very cheap. Unfortunately, Mox Opals are pushing 14, Steel Overseer or Spellskites are pushing 10, Steel Overseers are like $3 a pop, Glacial Fortresses are $2 a pop, Inkmoth Nexus is somewhere in the $7 range. I paid probably about half of what this deck is worth when I built it. But we're getting close to, like, we might be under $100. We might be closer to $150 though. I'm not exactly sure. It's a pretty affordable deck though, as far as affordable decks go. The only thing I think that could be cheaper than this would be either more of like a block style Tempered Steel deck that only runs mono white, or possibly mono red burn with or without Koths. I'm not sure if the 4 Koths would make up for the price of Spellskites and white-blue duels, and maybe 1 Mox Opal, because the block lists only run 2 Mox Opals. But there you go, that's the deck, and I will see you for round 1.